And welcome to the Ratchetdavo podcast. This is episode 3 with myself, David, as the host from the Ratchetdavo YouTube channel. Today I'm excited. We have a special guest, a lifelong friend, car guy, filmmaker, and just overall hoon over the years. Lots of hooning we've done together.
Absolutely.
But Drew, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, how's it going? I'm glad to be on the show. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, appreciate it. Well, obviously I know a lot about you and kind of how you came up and how you got into cars and the things that we've done together, which we'll get to. But obviously our listeners don't know you like I do. So if you want to tell everybody a little bit about yourself before we dive into some cool stories that we've had together.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, our friendship actually all started over this bond of just automotive, just a passion for that, motorsports and stuff, and video games, Need for Speed,
Pursuit.
And Forza,
GameCube.
yeah. I mean, the amount of hours we just spent on that game, just pretending like we were, I don't know, in Fast and Furious. or something.
Still some just great memories.
Yeah, just fantastic. And so that's kind of like where the passion started. And then, I started going to tons of car events, started taking photos and stuff, and we had so much fun at all these different track events and car shows.
Been to a lot of events
all over the place, and they were always so much fun. And I always, I guess just a little backstory about me is I grew to learn love photography, and learn how to, I guess, capture the best images I could, with a cell phone or whatever of cars and stuff, because I wanted to, make memories. But it also just started getting super creative and enjoying it, and it just evolved into like this just passion for merging the two, photography and cars, and then it turned into videography. And I got out of high school and I was like, man, what do I want to do? And it was like, I want to do video, and I have the automotive industry to thank for that, because it all started with a passion for.
That's so cool. But you've branched out from automotive and done
I've done
other projects.
I've done so many different projects, and that has been a blast to do. I've done everything from small business advertisement to larger corporations, nonprofit organizations and stuff. And I lived up in Alaska for a year and did and was able to work with an amazing production team. But
that was so cool.
Yeah, it was an amazing experience. But I think what's really interesting is I find myself coming back to this passion for cars and the automotive industry. Like, no matter what happens,
I do, you get so gravitated back to your roots. And honestly, you truly love something and are passionate about something when you constantly you're doing other things, and then you just find yourself all of a sudden right back in the middle of the automotive community.
Yeah, I just gravitate towards
all of a sudden you're back at the track and you're like, man, why did I leave at all? It's just I loved this so much, just spectating racing or just walking through Caffeine and Octane and just looking at, there might be a row of 200 Dodge Chargers all the same color, but at least you're in the area where there's cars and there's that presence about the place when you're in a car event that's just everybody's here for the same reason.
Yeah, exactly. Just the atmosphere, everybody feels it too. And feeling that again, it had been a while between being in Alaska and just so many other things going on, and just figuring out how to run my own business with this videography thing. Going back this year to the Le Mans was an amazing experience for me, because it was the smell of the air.
The Petit Le Mans at Road Atlanta. Yeah, that's always been kind of a stapled event on my calendar. I try to go, and my dad's always been good about getting everybody tickets to kind of be able to go into that event. But it's such a unique experience, and there's something about racing that brings together a community of people that the shared passion, even more so than sometimes just going to car events, that community of people that come together and the passion within just almost like that bubble. All of a sudden, when you're at the track, it's like nothing else in the world. It almost exists sometimes.
It's that's the world. Just right there.
All of a sudden, you're in this bubble, and it's you're not going anywhere. It's all about watching cars on track, talking about cars, taking pictures of cars, everything cars, and you don't get tired of it. And it's such a cool thing to experience. And that's my opinion, at least.
Oh, it's an amazing feeling. And I think feeling that again, just kind of like, I got butterflies, if you will, again.
And like, I have to give you props because like I've been doing YouTube at a subpar level, but like the quality of films that you've put out and just the talent that you're putting out is just inspiring and incredible. So I was just like wanting to give you props on like
thanks, man.
some of the content. Are you starting a YouTube channel?
Yeah, so I have a YouTube channel up right now for my company that I just kind of am starting to gradually put content onto, whether it be just like videos that aren't even, I mean, I'm starting to put videos up there. You know, I made like a little short like clip or whatever of the 2020 Le Mans that we went to.
Yeah.
And it's just, I'm going to just kind of start gradually putting clips up on there.
Yeah,
and maybe, you know, it'll go somewhere, maybe it won't, whatever. But it's also like a good place to kind of keep a portfolio for stuff for
absolutely.
Future clients.
And we've talked extensively about YouTube just because I've been doing it for the last 2 years consistently, and sometimes how difficult it is to stay encouraged when you're on the smallest levels of social media and YouTube, where like maybe there's one video that does really good or here and there that's really helping your channel, but for the most part, like sometimes you put out a video and you're like, this is the video, and it gets like 10 views.
10 views,
like, yeah. And it's just so easy to get discouraged. But I know we've talked a lot, especially over the last few months, about like how much we want to get monetized and how much we want to take our passion, and especially for you, such a great outlet for a filmmaker to put out your talent. And it's just something that it can be difficult to stay encouraged and stay motivated.
Yeah, and it's like I've always, you know, one of the things that when we've talked about this before that I keep going back to is if you have a passion for that, if you're having fun doing it, and of which we both are, we're enjoying it a lot because it's automotive. Like at the core of it, you know, a lot of that stuff and that content was inspired by automotive stuff. So, you know, if that's what's at the root of it all, and you can have a passion for that, then you're going to continue to put out content. You're going to continue to enjoy it.
Yeah.
And that's what it comes down to. Like, there's no point in doing it if you don't enjoy it.
Yeah. I totally agree. It's definitely, I even watching more popular YouTubers, and I won't say anybody by name, but like they've even put out content on like their other social media platforms, and they're being like, I'm so exhausted, I'm so tired, like because the content they decided to put out they thought was going to be fun for their viewers, and then it ended up not being fun for themselves, and all of a sudden they lost view of their true passion, which was whatever they did at first.
And some of them even fell off the grid for a while too, because of that.
And people, the YouTubers that take a break are YouTubers that have lost their way in some aspects of that phrase, you know, because they're like, you know, got tired of doing car reviews, or got tired of building these weird things, or got tired of riding motorcycles, or whatever their MO was for their channel. They got so burnt out, I think, because they all of a sudden, and I say this with the hopes that I never become that, and I want to learn from what they've done, but they just all of a sudden took a turn and like they disappeared, and then 6 months later they're like, I'm back on YouTube, you know. It's like, where did
where were you
know, it's like, I guess you're working at Pizza Hut as a delivery guy or something. Like, you just drop off the grid, you know. And some people are so established that they can afford to drop off the grid because their channel has the subscriber base and the viewer base.
Yeah, they have that momentum where they can take a step back and then pick back up where they left off. And but for a lot of these new creators that want to do that, it's very difficult, unfortunately. And there are some times where I think you can feel burnt out and just kind of over it.
I mean, even I have, especially last year, which now being 2021, I think there was like 3 months. It wasn't that I didn't want to put out content. It was just the place where I was at an apartment. I didn't have a garage. My motorcycle was in a storage unit. Like, it was so hard to put out content. I was literally making videos at my storage unit just to put out some sort of content to keep my channel rolling. And thankfully some of those videos, oddly enough, did really well. Granted, some of them were
looking
on
back
iPhone.
at some of them.
Some of them were only on iPhone. Like, that's all I did was film on my iPhone. No music, nothing. Just I just clipped these
on iMovie
together.
Send it out
just
there.
Put it out, and somehow those videos where you weren't thinking about it, you were just putting out content, sometimes do better than the ones where you're like, this is the video. Yeah. And then it doesn't do anything.
Yeah, so I don't necessarily know that, you know, for YouTube, trying to like plan these videos, that's always just the best way to go, because you think too much about
good,
it.
But planning, like thinking ahead about content that viewers are going to want to watch at a small scale doesn't really work. Yeah. You just got to put out something that you enjoy doing. If people see you enjoying it, then they're most likely going to probably enjoy the content.
And from a film perspective, being somebody who is all involved in that, I understand what it's like to have that director's role where you're kind of having to make decisions and stuff. Yeah. And cool. If you're not a director, then you shouldn't be doing that. If you're trying to plan out a video or something like that, like step by step, and this is what I need to do, and it may not work out the way you want it to. I mean, you really have to be good at storytelling, because that's what you're doing at that point. Yeah. Is you have a planned, script. And so these YouTube videos that you've done very well on, where you weren't expecting to do very well on them, was because you put out content that was just real. It was there, and people got to watch it.
Yeah, often it was just do-it-yourself videos or exhaust videos or something that's like doesn't really take a lot of filmmaking talent to do or put together, but it's something that people want to watch. It's something I enjoyed filming just because like I have all sorts of passions for automotive and motorcycles, and one video in particular I can think of is like the do-it-yourself epoxy floor that I did on my garage floor. All videos.
Oh man, when I saw that, I was like, "What in the world?" But
dude, of all videos, I was like, "There's no way this is gonna do well." And then it just passed 30,000 views, which for me is a substantial amount of views for my channel. You know?
But especially
it was just so surprising. I was just like, it started out so slow, and then all of a sudden it was getting thousands of views. And I'm like, "What the heck? This video is not that good, but it had step-by-step instructions. It had time-lapse videos of what I did and everything.
It hit, the main thing I think about that video was that it hit every aspect of what, anybody was looking for that video. Yeah. Anybody was, how do
I kind of call those self-generating videos, and I know we talked about this, but they're videos that regardless of what year it is or what time it is, somebody's going to look that up next year. Exactly. And my video will pop up in the recommended section, and they'll click on it. And that's one of those videos that it might have 30,000 views now, but in 2 years it could have 100,000 views just because people continue to watch it over time. So it's just, there's one of those staple videos on my channel that I'm always going to try to keep fresh and updated, and people are going to come back and watch it. So.
Yeah, like I said, man, it's one of those things.
It's not the only video that defines my channel, but it definitely is.
Nobody creates traffic.
It's the highest.
It creates traffic to your channel, and I think that's what's important. Not everybody is passionate about car stuff. I wish they were, but they're not. And
I think it's good to have all sorts of passions, right, regardless of automotive. And I think a lot of my passions surround something to do with automotive. Yeah. But I think it's cool when you can kind of branch out a little bit, because the burning out thing that we were talking about happens.
It happens
quickly when you're trying to like content, car. Or for me, for a time, it was like I worked on cars for a living, and then I would go home and try to do content for cars. That caused me to burn out so quickly. Man. Like, I like having automotive as a hobby.
It should be
rather
a hobby
than a career for the most part.
And we talked about this. I mean, you went to school for a while, and it was like, of course, like a car guy's going to enjoy working on cars for a living, but it no longer was a hobby at that point.
It did become exhausting.
It became exhausting, and you can't really enjoy something when you're super exhausted necessarily all the time. So,
But YouTube has been good. We'll see what happens. 2021, lots of. I'm trying not to be cliche about my content, but I'm definitely trying to create fresh content and think ahead about videos I want to create. Some of it is like I wanted to epoxy floor my garage. I wanted to put epoxy on so it worked out. I made a video and my garage got epoxy floor on.
Right, you planned out epoxy in the garage, but you didn't plan out the video. It just happened. I just
threw my GoPro up
and you were like,
talked about what I was doing, and
we'll just do a little step by step.
And I'm doing the same thing. I'm doing a do-it-yourself bedliner kit on my truck. Same exact scenario.
I would not be surprised if that gets the same kind of traffic.
Exactly. It's just something that is good over time. But that's YouTube. That's social media. It's difficult. You got to put out a lot of content.
It's so true. It's so true, man.
But man, we have done a lot of car things together and experienced some interesting.
Oh man, that's for a lack of words, I think.
Interesting is like the least exciting word when talking about the things that we've experienced. The places that we've gone that I never want to go back to again.
Yeah, the places I didn't know existed, and that I never
places that you can't get to by
that I wish didn't.
You almost have to trailblaze a little bit. You
yeah.
have to, like...
Oh, we did. We did. Again, for a lack of better words, we trailblazed. I mean,
yeah, like not on paved roads. Like started going down.
Like,
so
what were we doing?
Best story is my '94 Ram that I got. First of all, absolute piece of crap. I don't know how to visually describe to people what this truck looked like.
You can't. And if you do, you might hurt yourself. Like,
it's just so hard because it was such a piece of crap.
It was.
And why did I go get it? And why did I buy it? So,
I don't know.
I will say this. Sometimes when you travel a certain distance for a vehicle, you're there and you've come that far.
Right.
And it was only $800.
Right.
And you're like, well, I'm here. Like, I just drove however, it was like 6 hours or something.
Yeah.
Crazy. And you're like, I guess I'll just do it because I don't want to turn back now. I think that's sometimes a flaw.
Yeah. You have to, like, I don't know, maybe you just got to set like a maximum distance of where you're willing to travel. You know, unless it's like a car that you know you're going to come home with. Yeah. Like, you've been looking for this car for a while now, and, and it's a, you know, right, it adds to your passion.
Like high dollar or something. Yeah, like passion, like my 300ZX.
Right.
Like, I was willing to travel for that car. I was willing to pay ahead for that car because I knew what I was getting. I knew what I wanted.
Yeah.
And I trusted the seller to some extent. But this, on the other hand, the backstory was my 370Z broke. A spark plug was seized in the cylinder head, and I tried to get the spark plug out, and I broke the spark plug in half. What a disaster. Like, that car just broke my heart altogether because I love it.
It was such
a
great car. I'm glad I got to ride in it. And I know it's just a regular Z.
What an honor to ride in that car.
I got to ride in it before it broke. And no, that was actually a big thing for me now because from my perspective, like, growing up, we've known each other for so long, you always told me, like, man, I want a 370Z. Like, that's the car I'm going to own. And then
even when I had my 300ZX, which was my dream car,
yeah,
and I owned it, and I had it, and I sold it, and you know,
yeah,
I'll have another 300ZX. But anyways, I looked at 370s while I was driving my 300. I'm like, man, it'd be so cool to own one of those.
Yeah.
So I did make it happen. I was making payments on it, so it took me like 3.5 years to pay it off. Whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, within a year and a half, I was changing the spark plugs. Spark plug was seizing the head. Tried to get it out, broke the spark plug in half. It was toast.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't have the money to send it to a shop or anything like that. So it was like
very unfortunate.
Almost like a freak accident. Like, how often does that happen on something that's like 09, 2010 or newer? You know, that's just kind of unheard of.
I don't know, man. It doesn't make sense.
Still boggles my mind how that happened. I'll be doing a YouTube video actually instead of with like my 300ZX video, how to build a 300ZX in 17 minutes. I'm doing how to destroy a 370 in like 10 minutes. So it's gonna be like a sad movie, basically. I'm gonna put sad music all over.
Dude, real quick, I kind of want to bring this up. The amount of 300ZXs that you've owned, and it all started with the '88 300ZX, and that car, dude. I almost want to say
I talked about that car. Yeah,
I almost want to say that was my favorite car that you owned out of all of them.
I've never owned a car longer than
that car.
The
well, let's say it this way: you've never had a car that survived that long.
Yeah. More stories to come on how I've destroyed many cars. I have probably multiple vehicles sitting in junkyards right now.
Yeah.
That I've just destroyed.
That you've left your mark on. Yeah.
That's rough. But yeah, no, my first car, probably one of my favorite cars. Even though it was the Z31 chassis, the early chassis of the 300ZX, I still love that car to death. I mean, it's your first car.
Oh, yeah.
It's your first car.
I feel like your first car, yeah. If you're a car guy, your first car, I think, it'll always be in your top five.
But
it has to be.
Your first car will mold your image of cars and how you think about cars and your passion for cars and what is like what you want from when you're looking to buy a next car and everything like that.
It's so true.
You always come back to your roots.
It's so true. Yeah.
So never forget your first car.
Yeah.
Kiss car.
Kit. Yeah.
But yeah, so I broke the 370 and I had like $800 to my name. I'm pretty sure at that point. Like, I was trying to find a way to get out of the payments on that car. I was in a bad spot, and I was just looking for a truck, and a 94 Ram came up somewhere in South Carolina. I don't even know where.
I don't
South
either.
Carolina.
I think I think I like officially deleted having searched that place up in my Google Maps history because I just was like, this place.
So
nobody ever needs to.
We got in your car, your Toyota Celica, which we'll talk about in a little bit, but we got in that car and started just driving towards nowhere. Yeah, South Carolina. I don't know how else to describe it. Literally, pine tree farms, dirt roads. Like, couldn't find this guy's house because we were just all of a sudden going down muddy dirt roads, and we were like, we're in a Celica. Like, we're not going to make it.
Yeah. I know the older Celicas were like rally cars, but this one, the front-wheel drive 2000 GTS was not cutting it. Like, I just want to be
shockingly, there's a video somewhere of you off-roading that thing.
Plowing.
That day. That was insane. You went up vertical.
I went up a hill that...
It was like rallycross. You got a little momentum, barely any momentum, but you just gunned it up this hill.
I don't know how I made it.
And my truck barely made it, but somehow your car... I guess front-wheel drive is just better than we
thought. It just pulled it up. I don't know, man.
Front-wheel drive's not bad. People can bash on it, but front-wheel drive has its, it saved us a time or two.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But on the way there, I shot a deer, so that's fun.
Yeah. You want to give some backstory to that? Because I think...
Oh, my God. It's so hard to explain, except we were just driving down the road, and you took a right turn, so we were kind of going at a low speed.
Yeah.
And I see this deer on the side of the road, and all of a sudden, literally pops his head up and looks at us. Just like, just like looks, and I was like, oh my, that deer's alive. What the heck?
It's crazy because I saw it. Like, I saw it, and
it was creepy.
I thought my mind was playing tricks on me. I was like, no. Surely a deer.
It was creepy, honestly. Like, I thought it was demon possessed.
Yeah. It may have been. I mean, I don't, there's, who's to say it wasn't. It was weird. It was a weird situation, man.
Yeah, but basically, I got out and I was like, well, I need to, and I carry a firearm everywhere I go, especially when I go.
Especially when we go places
deals.
Like that.
Yeah. But I get out and I was like, well, I need to put it down. Its legs are broken. It started beating its head against the ground like it was, like the exorcism was in progress.
Yeah. And we were, this sounds so horrible too because we felt bad for it. We were like, when you put it down, put it out of its misery. But we were like when we first saw that thing, we were dying laughing. We were like, what, like, is our mind playing tricks on this, or is this thing like still alive? Like, I could not believe. It was the weirdest thing. Yeah. And all of these things, these weird things like this, man, they happen. And I remember telling you, like, on the trip up there, all the way up there, I was like, dude, something weird's going to happen. Like, we do these all the time. We do these trips all the time, and something weird happens.
Yeah, I agree. I had, like, this weird feeling. I was like, this is just a trip that I don't want to take. Like, like we probably should have turned back and, like, found a $200 Camry over this.
Which, if you can find a $200 Camry.
Solid. Pick that thing up.
Take that thing home. Talk more about the trip, though, about this truck when you brought it home, though. That's the thing. People don't understand how much of a piece, like, this trip was just crazy. Like, you got to run for more.
Beginning to end, So we get there, and, okay, I put the deer down, blah, blah, blah. Some farmer takes it off to, feed his family.
Yeah, that was weird.
Whatever. Anyways, we get there, but we start turning down dirt roads after dirt road, and it's like pine tree farms, log trucks. Like, I'm like, where does this guy live?
Yeah.
And we finally, like, kind of make it to the address. I see this shitty truck.
Yeah.
And I was like, there's no way that's it.
Yeah.
The picture he sent me was not that bad. And we get there. It's got dents all over the place. It's got the dent the size of a gorilla on the passenger side in the bed of the truck. Like,
matter of fact, a gorilla might have been what put it there because I couldn't imagine anything else.
Oh my God. And it was like bald tires, and the worst part was the bed of the truck. He had installed himself.
Right.
He cut out
a hole in the bed so he could fit
a fifth wheel.
A fifth wheel.
Yeah.
Towing package.
Yeah. A fifth wheel package. He did a custom. It was like a slab of metal that probably weighed 1,000 pounds.
Yeah. I when I first looked at it, I was like, oh, he just, he cut a hole so he could attach his.
And then he drilled through the frame of the truck and bolted it directly to the frame of the truck. Wasn't even square. Totally not safe. Don't know how that truck could even pull.
Well, there's nothing safe about that truck. I mean.
No, absolutely not. There was multiple. The dash was in pieces. And
no, not pieces. The whole thing.
Whose name was keyed in the side? Amos.
I
named the truck Amos.
You named it Amos. That's where the name came from.
The name Amos was keyed into the side of the truck.
That's right. That's right. I forgot about that.
Why did I do
Dude,
this?
I'm convinced, man, that he took an older photo of the truck.
Yeah.
And used that.
Like a Google photo.
Yeah. I don't know.
but it didn't look anything like what I thought it did. And it was a long bed single cab. It was the Hunter Green that was pretty famous on the early 2000s, late 90s Ram trucks. And he was like, let's go for a drive. So he had cut the exhaust off in the middle, but he didn't remove the back part of the exhaust. It was just hanging below. And what I didn't know, spoiler alert, is that exhaust was rubbing on the drive shaft the entire time.
That's right.
And it literally sawed the drive shaft in half.
It had been doing that, though, before we bought it. We saw it.
I don't know. Well,
didn't we? We saw it, and we were like,
I saw it, and I was like, it's kind of weird, but it didn't look that bad. I didn't realize that the drive shafts for those were
that's exactly
like
what happened.
With like a light layer of metal. It was so weird. How
it literally made of cardboard. We were like, what?
Yeah. So I test drove it, and he was. I remember specifically we were driving. He's like, "This thing's a hot rod. Get on it." And I was like, "I'm afraid that this thing's gonna."
He's like, He's like, "Man, I've done burnouts in this." Remember he said that? He's like, "Man, I've done some burnouts."
First of all, if any of these things are a situation that you've been in, those are called red flags, and you should walk away from that deal.
Or run, in our case.
But I didn't. I paid him $800 for that truck, and the brake drums had this noise, a dinging noise, like a bell. You remember that? Ding, ding, ding,
That's
ding,
right.
Ding, ding.
Yeah,
the whole time, the exhaust was cut off.
Like trying to get an attendant to come to the desk.
Yeah.
Ding, 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 ding.
That's what it sounded like. But we took off back, but we did not go home the way that we came there. So, like, we started going down these other roads, dirt roads.
We had just had enough of that day, man. We were like,
I hated every second of that. But I called a buddy on the way home after you made it up the tall hill out of the mud, and I thought we were going to get stuck, and I was like, I'm just going to leave it.
You're not going to be able to pull me out, yeah.
Honestly, I was like, if this truck gets stuck or anything breaks, I'll take my losses and just leave it on the side of the road.
Yeah.
Rip the title up and just go.
That was just,
I think that would have been best case
scenario. That would have been best for everybody.
That would have been best for everybody. Honestly.
That thing shouldn't have been on the road, the roads that we took it down to get home.
I took it to a buddy's shop immediately, and we welded up the exhaust. And then I took it home. I was backing into my driveway, and I was going over a curb, and the drive shaft split in half. Do you remember that?
That's right.
I split the drive shaft
in half. You had put too much torque, too much tension on the drive shaft. I just gunned it to
get over a curb.
But people, we're talking about not a curb. Like, we're talking about, like, literally the smallest lip of the driveway.
Yeah, it was like a rounded
just to get
curb
up onto the driveway.
Yeah.
And kink, the noise that thing made when it came off, and it just kept spinning.
Yeah, and then the truck wasn't going anywhere. Oh my god!
And you knew exactly what it was too.
Yeah, and because when I was welding up the exhaust earlier, the homeowner came out and he was like, "I wouldn't pay $10 for this truck." No. And he's like that drive shaft is broken something fierce or something. He said something like that, and he was like, "You should not drive this truck."
Yeah,
but it took me about a month to find a drive shaft for that truck because the single cab long bed drive shaft is a very specific length of drive shaft, but I was able to find a junkyard in Texas on eBay that was able to send me a drive shaft, and it worked. And I drove that truck for like a year or more.
So it ended up I think being worth it.
Kind of decent. Yeah. I couldn't get the wheels off; they were like over torqued on, so I sold it. Or I traded it for a Honda. You remember that?
That's
brown
the
Honda?
Little,
like a 91 Honda
rice bomb
Civic.
That thing was awesome, though.
But that was fun experience.
Yeah.
Would not do that again. This is the phrase that I have. This is my automotive life motto. I've driven farther for worse.
Yeah.
That's my life motto.
That's true. That's actually true.
In the automotive world. When somebody's like, well, I don't know. I'm like, listen, I've driven much farther for much worse.
Yes. That's perfect.
And we reference scenarios like that.
That's so true. Man, we've had so many, like, weird stuff with just like things that happened during like these little deals, these little trades, or going to buy some car, and like we had like a Russian mafia that was like coming after us for the Audi.
Yeah. So I had a 98. I don't remember the order. I have a list of how many cars I've had. I don't remember what order this one was in, but I had a 98 Audi A4. Actually, one of my all-time favorite cars, the B4 chassis?
B4. No, it's the B5.
B5 chassis?
Yeah.
Whatever. The 98 Audi, that B5 chassis of the Audi is my all-time favorite chassis. So but I didn't have the Quattro. I had the front-wheel drive, 5-speed, but it had the 5-valve per cylinder V6. It sounded good. I straight piped it.
Oh, I love the way that it sounded.
Dude, that thing sounded kind of like a GTR almost.
Yeah, because it had that grumble.
Yeah, but I had like a AutoZone 3-inch exhaust pipe.
That's right.
On the back that I welded onto it.
But no cats. It was it?
I can't remember. I can't remember.
Know.
I didn't do like headers and all that, so it might have had cats, but it had no mufflers on it.
Okay.
So it was decent. But that car was pretty fun. We had some good times when your Celica, which I have to say, your Celica GTS, that motor is a preppy. Why did I say preppy?
It could be preppy. I've seen some preppy looking
yikes.
Celicas.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of those things I will say about that car is like it all depends on the owner for the look. Because like I've seen ones that look good.
You can have rice or nice.
Yeah, rice or nice. That's
plain
way to put it for the Celica. But no, I'm like, man, I just didn't expect that car to be like that.
You've had that. Is that your first car?
That's my first car, and I
you
still have it. I still have it. It's running rough, man. But the motor, it runs smooth though. It's the transmission. I feel like is going to go out before anything.
Yeah. Well, I've watched somebody at the track blow up one of those transmissions. Yeah. So like I feel like they're
those
kind of
transmissions might be a weak point
GTS,
on that.
But how peppy that car was and the variable valve timing that was almost like VTEC for Toyota.
Yeah.
On that car, but it hit different. That car.
I think it hit harder. Yeah. I mean the drastic change.
It was better. I'm gonna trigger every Honda guy out there.
I know you will.
But they got to try. Better than VTEC. Like when you hit the variable valve timing and you heard that motor sing.
It did something.
9,000 RPM?
Oh, 9,000. Yeah.
Crazy,
man.
That they made such a small car that almost seems insignificant to the car community. I think it's a hidden gem of the car community.
I think it is.
If I saw one, I would totally love to take it to the track and have fun with it.
I mean, like I've said this, and I'll say it 100 more times. I'll say it 1,000,000 more times. If I find another one of those that's in really like prime condition sometime down the road. Yeah. I mean, like I won't bat an eye to buy it because it runs forever. It's incredibly reliable. It's incredibly fun to drive. It does really good gas mileage, and like you said, I think it hits 6-speed. I think it hits different than VTEC. It's in the same line of cars. No, it doesn't. It's in the same line of car. I'm afraid, like the VTEC boys are gonna come out and get me. No, man, it was an incredible car. Yeah. It still is.
I love that car.
Yeah.
We need to restore it to its former glory.
It needs to. It needs to.
You need to bring it over here. We should do some videos.
Let's do it.
Videos on it.
Let's do a start to finish. Yeah.
Let's try to find a bumper for it. The front bumper. Reborn. Get that thing back together. But yeah. So you did wreck that car.
Yeah, I did.
You weren't in Georgia.
No, I was not in Georgia. It was actually my first semester of college. I was going to Asbury University up in Wilmore, Kentucky. And I was driving down some back roads, and it was late at night. I mean, it was like probably 11:30, and I found some Kentucky. I gotta say, Wilmore up in that area, man. The roads up there, they're dangerous roads.
Yeah, I've never been up there.
They're dangerous roads, but they're really cool roads. Like the rolling hills, it's fun. And awesome. And I was just doing a dumb teenage thing where I was just driving too fast around these blind turns.
I've done it. Yeah, I've been there.
And interestingly enough, what happened, a deer came out in front of me, but I actually didn't hit the deer. What actually happened was there was a telephone pole in the worst spot of the road on the inside of the turn. Yeah. And as I went around the turn, the deer came out in front of me. I did exactly what every driver's not supposed to do. Tried to evade it, went off the road a little bit. My tire dropped off, and that was all it took, man. And I just bam, it hit the pole. And if I had not had my wheel turned back towards the road, I think I would have come to a halting stop, which would have been really bad for me. And
were you able to drive away from that?
I was able to drive away from it. It was incredible. I was probably going around 45 to 50 miles an hour.
Yeah, that's pretty much best case scenario.
You hit that 50. I mean, a dead stop hit a telephone pole, man, that kills people. But I had the wheel turned in towards the road to get back on the road. Yeah. And when I hit the front left fender, the wheel basically it ricocheted off the wheel.
Just bounced off.
And went right back on.
Dude,
so.
Wow. Well, that's lucky.
It was lucky, man, and it would have been the end of that car. And
well, that's decent reaction time. I mean, if the pole hadn't been there, maybe a different scenario would have
happened.
Maybe it just spun out in the grass and got stuck or something.
Yeah.
Was it raining or was it dry?
No, it was completely dry. Yeah.
There's so many deer. Depending on, you said first semester, so it was like fall.
It was fall.
That's deer season, and like
deer season, and every
night, like I work night shifts, but every night, like see so many deer.
Man, you got to be careful. It's crazy.
Watch out for deer, seriously, especially back roads. I can't even express that enough. It's
my gosh,
they're everywhere, especially during deer season. Like I guess it just shakes them all up because they don't know where to go and they just start freaking running everywhere. But the increase of the amount of deer I see during deer season running across the road, it's just so much more.
Yeah, you have to be careful around those. Yeah, you have to be careful during those times. And when I was just a young teenager, like just kind of being careless and whatever, and I just, just took the turn too fast and just wasn't being responsible. And I think a lot of guys our age who are just into the car community, and you think you're like invincible and stuff, and you just do really dumb stuff, but you got to be careful.
No, I've done it. I told him my dad's Ford Focus.
Man, we've been in the car together with some of those ridiculous. I mean, I can't even.
Yeah, there's almost like too many stories for one podcast episode, but I do remember the Audi, and I feel like it was during a time where all like our friends and family had cars. Like it was before, like I wouldn't say before we all grew up. I don't want to say that, but we all had like 2-door sports cars. Well, yeah, no, I'm still not grown up.
Yeah,
let's
right.
be honest, but like I had the Audi, and then everybody else, like brother-in-law TJ had a Mustang. Joe had his first 944 still. That's right. That he had plasti dip.
It was black.
Matte
black.
Joe, if you hear this, don't ever plasti dip a car.
Please
again.
Don't. It looked like Bedliner, actually.
Yeah, it did. It had like an orange peel. Like
I liked the look that he was going for.
I knew what he was trying to do, but plasti dip. If I can shoot down that rabbit trail,
please do.
Plasti dip, just shut down. Just go ahead and give up, because I've run into more problems with people that plasti dip something in it
than somebody who just painted it.
Yeah, it's like, or wrap it. Just
wrap it. Yeah,
wrap it. But plasti dip over time, like it's good. It's a temporary thing that you should be able to peel off when you're done with that color.
It's a good joke, honestly. You know what Plasti Dip's future is in? Plasti Dip's future is in pranks. If you want to prank somebody, I mean, honestly, it's a pretty horrible prank because, like we just said, there's some. Yeah, it takes time to get that stuff off.
What I've seen is, like, even with my white 300ZX slick top, like, one of the fenders had plasti dip on it, but it had been baked into the side of the car.
Yeah.
And, like, I had a really hard time getting that plasti dip out and the residue.
It's not a long-term thing.
It shouldn't be a long-term thing. No. It doesn't handle heat well. And I just, all around, like, there's companies that have perfected the dip your car, like, but it's not plasti dip. It's almost like a liquid wrap.
Yeah.
That once you put it on there, you can peel it off, but it's different than plasti dip. But plasti dip itself is a cheap product that I totally don't think should have ever
steer
made
clear
its way
if you're
into
actually looking for quality of like
definitely
adding some character to your
Which
car.
I plasti dipped a set of wheels or something, but like I'd never do that again.
No,
it's terrible.
Just paint it, and if that's really what you want to do, or if you do plasti dip it, I won't completely. Crap on plasti dip here. They can you can use it. Yeah. But the thing is, you can use it. Just it's not a long term thing. If because I have some parts. I still have the mirrors on the Celica. Yeah. They're painted with plasti dip. Yeah. And that is going to be a pain to get off.
It's probably going to be.
It's baked on there.
You're probably going to have to sand it down to get it off now because that's been on there for years.
But
you live and you learn. I mean, when it first came out, I think it was all the hype.
Yeah.
Was about plasti dip, and there's things over the years that the car community
just goes through
about, but plasti dip was one of those things years ago. I remember them. I used it. You used it. Joe, I'm sorry that you used it on your entire Porsche, but things happen. I didn't hate your 944, Joe, so don't hate us for that. But yeah, I had the Audi, one of my all-time favorite cars, 5-speed, front-wheel drive, V6, sounded really good, and we had some good times racing each other.
Oh,
the
man.
Celica versus the Audi, which you would think that the Audi would dominate. Not the case whatsoever.
Just another testimony
of the high revs of the Celica and the variable valve timing, just like the perfect match. I've never, when you're playing Forza and you and your buddy are racing, like doing the drag racing or something, and you finally find the two cars that are like the closest match ever.
The closest
and, like,
in your garage.
You're like going, of course, ridiculous speeds down the highway in Forza, but it's like the perfect match. These were the two cars.
Those were it, yeah.
That were the
like
perfect
if we
match
had
for
gone
each other.
through our garage, our little Forza garage, and picked out two cars just like we always did when we were younger playing Forza on Xbox. Those would have been the two we would have found. Like in what class would those have been in? Like
there's like
C class,
D class,
D class, probably D class.
Down with like the VW bus.
Yeah. No, not your VW bus though, because some of those VW buses on Forza that we had like 3,500 horsepower.
That's
so
true.
like
so I don't know. That would be so cool to try to classify cars these days into Forza classification.
VW bus.
Yeah, no, it's probably like a C class car,
Yeah.
You know, factory. I don't know if you could, you know, but whatever. Yeah. Anyways,
not relevant.
Perfect match.
Yeah, perfect.
And, like, we drag out race from a stoplight, and like I was literally right beside you. It was like saying goodbye to Paul Walker in the last.
Yeah, it was. I thought the song started when I see you looking, you know, and but we were just ramming through the gears like
that was so much fun.
We got done and we looked around like,
holy crap,
is there any cops? Like,
yeah, because we just went.
That was like, yeah,
that was awesome. That was good times. But
so many of those times that were just.
But I launched that car so much that I destroyed the motor mounts. So every time I released the clutch in first gear, the whole car started shuddering because the motor was shuddering in the front. I wish I hadn't sold that car. I wish I had just repaired the motor mounts and like maybe kept it.
For a little longer, yeah.
Even in recent events, especially with a baby on the way, I've been looking at getting another Audi A4. Just
honestly, man,
I love them.
I think
want the wagon,
the safety factor
Avant.
too for
those A4 Avant.
They have great ratings for I think the safety even for.
Have you seen the new RS6?
Oh,
did I send you a picture of one? I saw one the other day. That like they're amazing. They look incredible.
Is that going to make it to the U.S.?
They're already here.
They're here?
Yeah.
You're kidding me.
People are importing them now. Crazy. They look amazing.
Oh my words, man.
But
I love the Avants, man.
Audi wagons just hit different for me.
Yeah.
They just hit different for me. I don't know why.
It's what a wagon should be.
Probably the dad in me.
If any company's ever going to make any more wagons, they just need to be like, okay, what's Audi doing with their wagons? Because like,
yeah, but nobody. I don't know. Audi just does their own thing, and they've made some fantastic cars over the years. But yeah, I sold that Audi. But to sell it, I had to risk my life to sell it.
That's right.
With the Russians.
That's a crazy story, man.
Dude, I don't know if this is a thing, but I'm pretty sure Russians just really love Audis.
Yeah.
You know when you watch movies and the Russians are either in like Mercedes or Audi?
Yeah.
It was like the same thing. So I put this.
It's the Mercedes like G-Wagons or something like that.
At that time, I think Facebook Marketplace wasn't a thing, so I think it was Craigslist that we were still using.
It's not just like Russians too. It's like the Russian mafia too. Like
I don't
the
know.
mafia members in the movies.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I think
they
it
were
is.
Like true Russian accents. They wanted the car so bad. But the
I heard like arguing going on in the background with other Russian voices. It was like there was like a
dude, it was getting weird. But
I don't know.
My mistake was, and I learned my lesson on this. There's a lot of lessons that I learned selling cars, but I learned that you meet people places to sell your car. Do not have them come to your house.
Yes,
that's a recipe for
or my house, because I think you were at my house when you were talking to the Russians, and I was like, hey, like. Leave because
we're friends and all, but like
you were giving me the rundown. You're like, hey man, like I'm pretty sure like this is a Russian mafia, like no joke, like these guys like sound intense.
So yeah, like these guys called me and they had the accent. I don't want to make fun of Russians, so I'm not going to try to pretend to do a Russian accent. I'm not going to make fun of anybody, but like the Russian accent calls me on the phone and they're like, we really want the car. We will I'll meet you at any time, any time of the day or night. Like I'll give you your asking price. But I had this other person also wanting the car, so I had this mini bidding war going on my phone between them. And the Russians had already come look at the car, and they were like, "Well, we want to think about it." But they came to my parents' house. I was at my parents' house at the time, and they came to my house, and my mom was like freaking out because, no lie, she told me this. I did not know this until a couple years ago. She said that. On our home phone, a Russian person called our home phone. I never gave out our home phone to them.
You're kidding me.
She said that she answered the phone and a Russian was on the phone saying, where can we meet? And I'm here. I'm watching you. Where can we meet? No lie.
No, that's what just confirms it for me. Because like when you were at my house and you were telling me these things, you're like, dude, I'm pretty sure this is the Russian mafia because like the way that they're talking to me and everything. And I remember you putting them on speakerphone when they were calling you and it was like hardly speak English, like the way they were talking. Yeah. Everything was just like very aggressive.
And it was like late at night when I was at your house. It was like midnight or 1 o'clock, and they're like, "We'll come right now and get it." I'm like, "Who buys a car at 1 in the morning?"
Yeah, at 1 in the morning. What? Yeah.
No, we're not gonna do that.
It's like, is it a getaway car? Like, I don't understand.
Yeah.
Like,
so but I was worried. I came to the point where I was like, if I don't sell to the Russians, what's gonna happen?
Oh, you're dead.
But if I do sell to the Russians, what's gonna happen?
Yeah. yeah, exactly.
So I ended up not selling to the Russians. I opted out to sell to the nice gentleman that wanted the car for his family.
That's right.
But I had a little.
And now the Russians are after him.
I do want to thank the Russians because they upped my price by like $400 because I had a little bidding war between the other guy, and he's like, I really want it. The Russians really want it. So the Russians were like, I'll give you $3,000. This guy was like, I'll give you $3,100. The Russians were like, $3,300. And then this guy was like, I'll do $3,400 top dollar. That's all I got. And so I was like, okay. And so I like didn't tell the Russians or anything, and then like they called me the next day and I'm like, it's sold, and I hung up immediately. I was like, I don't even want to know what they're gonna say to me. But the fact that like some Russian voice called my parents' home phone and I gave out my cell phone, just a little weird.
Yeah, word of advice, you guys, never. And this is, I feel like this is kind of.
I'm not bashing on Russians because I'm sure there's some nice Russian folks in America. Fantastic. Outstanding citizens.
Sure. These ones, I don't know.
I'm not sure. It just seemed really sketchy all around about that situation.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I made a profit on that car, so I can't.
It's crazy, man. Like, you just got to be careful, like, where you do stuff like that.
Yeah, I would say, as a word of advice from that, just meet somebody somewhere and make sure they don't know where you live.
Yeah.
And I've done, if I trust somebody within, like, a forum or something that wants to come meet at my house for car parts or whatever, I've done that. Like, me and my wife she sells furniture, and then I sell car parts from my house. And, like, sometimes I'll just have people come to me. But for things like that...
Those were back in the Craigslist days, too, where it's like
Craigslist was different than Marketplace.
It's so different because you have a Facebook Marketplace, you have to have your profile. I do not miss Craigslist.
I think Facebook Marketplace is just, like, the solution to some of those problems, like the sketchiness of Craigslist sometimes. But Craigslist was all... that I did at one point. That's where I sold everything.
Yeah.
So, but now I can't even imagine of doing Craigslist rather than Facebook Marketplace. Isn't that weird how just like one platform takes over?
Yeah, it is. But I mean, like, everybody feels safer for it, and it's just so much cleaner. It's just a cleaner, like, interface and everything. So I'm glad that they do that now.
Yeah. I never heard from them again. I think I blocked numbers and all that and just moved on from that.
Probably best. But hopefully,
oh Lord, that was
PTSD, man. If you ever hear somebody just random the Russian voice on your phone, like.
But yeah, you definitely got to be careful, especially when selling vehicles. I have a lot of more stories. I don't think I'm going to dive into too many more in this episode, just because it could take so much. Like, there's so many.
There's so many, but there's so many good ones. Maybe they'll pop up another time.
Yeah. But I think. For this episode, I think we're going to wrap it up. I've really enjoyed it. I really appreciate you coming on.
Yeah,
just talking about some of the stuff that you've done. It's such a cool... But do you want to plug your YouTube or Instagram or something that people can follow?
Sure. I mean, you guys, you can look me up on... it's Drew.Raught is my regular Instagram, or you can look up Drew Raught Video. That's my kind of my business profile, if you will.
I'm going to link them all.
And then it's Drew Raught Video for...
everything will be linked
YouTube
down below.
As well.
If you're on YouTube, it'll be linked in the description below.
Perfect.
If you're coming from the podcast, it's Raught is RAUGHT.
GHT, yeah.
Yeah. And you can find them there. But this has been awesome. I really appreciate it. We'll definitely be doing more episodes together for sure, because you don't live that far away.
Yeah, for sure.
So we're going to have to do that.
Let's do it.
But this has been a blast. I really appreciate y'all listening to episode 3. Weekly episodes that come out every Wednesday for the Ratchetdavo podcast. They'll be uploaded a couple days after that on the YouTube channel as well. So, as always, stay tuned, and I do appreciate it.